Open niyo po yung pouch account niyo po, ma'am. Wow, thank you, Pouch Peach.
Can you open?
Wow! Really?
Yes.
How? Why? Really?
Hello guys, we are now accepting Bitcoin. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and GFY.
What's up? Welcome to Have Fun Stacking Sats. Today I have Bill and Ethan from Bitcoin Island. Bitcoiners, have you ever wondered if there's somewhere on the planet where there's a beautiful tropical island with tons and tons of merchants that accept Bitcoin? Well, maybe you should hear about Bitcoin Island. What's up, guys? Tell me about Bitcoin Island.
Yo, so it is my second day here. Bill has been on the ground for how long?
About 7 months now.
7 months. And so Bill is like curating the community here of Bitcoiners, orange pilling everyone. And I am the founder of the Pouch Lightning Wallet, which is a Filipino Lightning Wallet. You can think of it like Strike or Cash App, where we have fiat rails. Philippine pesos is a currency here. But the wallet is interoperable on the Bitcoin and Lightning network. So the result is a freaking amazing tourist island, because Boracay is one of the top, most popular tourist destinations in Southeast Asia. Really gorgeous island, and kind of has a mix of luxurious things to do and just like fun. Like the beach is absolutely gorgeous. So one day in, I could say like walked, maybe it's a 2-minute walk to the massive beach that's just white, fine like sand that's like baby powder all the way down, and really incredible, beautiful views.
And he's already stopped at 2 or 3 Bitcoin-based vendors, bought some beer. Didn't want a coconut this early in the morning, but he could have bought one.
Yeah, I talked to the guys cutting the coconuts, but we'll go back in a little bit and get those. Yeah, I haven't paid with pesos yet, so I've just been from landing in the airport on the mainland, because there's no airport directly in Boracay. You have to land in just off the water and take a little boat across. So from landing the plane, been on Bitcoin since yesterday. And
For 2 days?
Yeah, it's been probably 24 hours by now.
Okay, what's up? 24 hours. I mean, so everything that you bought so far has been completely on Bitcoin. That's amazing.
Yep. I mean, there's tons of restaurants. There's tons of, I mean, you can do grocery, a lot of convenience stores all over. So 300 locations, right?
Yeah, about 300 right
Yeah.
now. And I would say about 100 of them are the tourist oriented. The others are going to be the smaller ones, like think of the smallest 7-Eleven you've ever seen and make it 10 times smaller. Though that's called a sari, and they are all over on the island, all over on the Philippines. So a lot of people use them as their pantry. So we've got a ton of those that, you know, as a tourist, you're probably not going to go to, but as a local, I use them all the time.
I would recommend going if you're a tourist too. Like if you're not going out of your way, you probably won't do it. But if you're a Bitcoiner coming to the island, go check out the Sorry stores on the map.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, so two things right off the bat. Number one, I think the last update I got on the island was 100 merchants. So you guys have tripled that in, I don't know, maybe a month or something from the last time I heard about it. And then you say like, you're like, well, maybe 100 of those are like touristy. And you say it like it's, I don't want to say like a bad thing, but it's significant. But the fact is, so basically what you're saying is you have 200 non-tourist businesses, which are essentially local circular economy businesses. The money coming in and the money going out is all local using a Bitcoin wallet. That's amazing.
Yeah. So one of the things that's really going to make this circular economy go even better is that the adults here, like 60% of them are unbanked in the Philippines. Okay. And it is very expensive to be poor and unbanked. And one of the things is you've got to pay like a utility bill, your electricity. And really what they have to do if they want to do that is either go wait in line or go somewhere, pay a fee on top of their electric bill to get that bill paid. But Ethan and the developers are busily working on getting us rails into the bill pay in the Philippines. And what that means is even someone without a bank can then pay all of their bills with Bitcoin. Now it gets a little bit philosophical. It was Bitcoin when it went in, when it went to the biller. Is it still Bitcoin or is it pesos? I don't know about that. But Bitcoin in and you pay your utility bills. And that means that they can pay that bill at face value rather than add on a percentage to the little stores that are doing that. So what's going to end up happening is these sorries, they're going to be more trained on the app. They'll be willing to take in the pesos and pay that bill, but they can do it for cheaper than the more traditional places that would pay those bills for them. So that is going to be one of our killer apps that we're adding on very quickly here.
One of the things I recognized about the Bitcoin Island is that your adoption model is really kind of an example for what other communities should be looking at. So you developed the Strike type app where you can use Lightning and the local currency, the peso and Bitcoin are just like interchangeable with each other. I could use the Pouch wallet to send pesos. I could use the Pouch wallet to send and receive Bitcoin, and it just kind of flows back and forth. So that way people not even like familiar with Bitcoin, they are using Bitcoin, but they still have the familiarity of the peso. And then you've integrated things into the app that people need. And the end result has been just nonstop onboarding of local merchants. So I just feel like anybody that's trying to like build a Bitcoin whatever, a Bitcoin forest or Bitcoin beach or Bitcoin island or whatever should really be looking at Bitcoin Island and how Bitcoin Island has accomplished this. Can you guys tell me like the origins of Bitcoin Island, like where you started from?
Yeah, so it started with the wallet. My wife is Filipina, so we have sent money back to the Philippines living in the United States for like since we got married 7 years ago, something like that. So it's a very regular part of life, and I was tired of paying high fees. And also, there's times where just the delay of Western Union transfers, or sometimes they'll even like block your transaction to do another round of KYC, which really sucks. I was just tired of all of that, and started figuring out how, as a passionate Bitcoiner, how can we get the remittances flowing via Bitcoin in a more user-friendly way. So I was working on the e-wallet app, and then I met Bill on the Bitcoin subreddit, right? And Bill was trying to start a community up more in northern Philippines. And I suggested to Bill, like, hey, you should move to Boracay because it's the kind of tourist destination. Like, if we want to get visibility in all of the Philippines, all of Southeast Asia, and like make a huge impact and prove the utility of Bitcoin to every business owner, every tourist, every government, like in Southeast Asia, this is the place to do it in Boracay. So Bill was like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah, he was absolutely right. He offered to send me to Boracay for a week to kind of see if I thought this was realistic. And after about 2 days, it went from, is this realistic, to where should I get an apartment? So yeah, we were so excited. We went back, packed up overnight, and we're on a ferry back to the island.
Oh, wow.
After that.
Okay, so
Yep.
you went to see if it was viable, and you immediately saw that it was viable. What about the island presented itself as so viable for Bitcoin?
So we went around and just literally started on one side of the beach and started walking and talking to anyone that would listen. And we were getting, first hotel we went to, the guy was an altcoiner, but he at least had some idea what Bitcoin was and was immediately interested. And then fortunately we got, a rainstorm. And so we ducked into the nearest building, and there was Camry Tours, the people that arrange for you to get onto the island by ferry so you can skip all the lines. The owner was right there, and she said, sure. She signed up on the spot. It was our very first sign up, and I was like, oh, yeah.
I used Camry Tours to get here yesterday, by the way.
Okay.
Yep, it skips you through all the lines. There's a ferry every 10 minutes. You look for the people in the pink shirts. They pick you up at the airport, and you never stop walking until you get on the ferry. And then as soon as you get off the ferry, there's an e-trike, basically a golf cart, to bring you wherever you're going. It is easily the most efficient way to get on the island. Otherwise, you might be in line for an hour and confused with very bad wireless. So
yeah, and you mentioned the e-trikes. I want to bring up in Southeast Asia, there's like this concept of in the Philippines, it's called the tricycle, or I think it's known as a tuk-tuk in the rest of Southeast Asia, more similar kind of transportation. Like in Boracay here, they're electric, which is like kind of mind-blowing to anyone even touring from outside of this specific island of the Philippines. So it's kind of modernized in this way. They're like trying to be cutting edge in a way, so they're also more receptive as well to some cutting edge currency as well.
And for anyone that's been to the Philippines and ridden these tricycles elsewhere, they are tall enough for Westerners.
Yeah, they're a little bigger. The electronic ones here are a little bigger.
The ones where we were before, I could barely get in. I'm 6'2", and my head would bump on the roof. So it is nicer here for that.
But it's fun. It's really easy to get around. I guess
Yeah,
Like on that specific island, but the rest of the Philippines are shorter.
Yep.
Yes.
Pretty much. Yeah. The gas-powered ones, they're like the rest of the Philippines are all gas-powered, and they're like smaller cases. These are like specially custom built, I guess. Looks to be like a few hundred of them.
Yep.
All going around the island. So.
And we should mention that 50 of them accept Bitcoin directly.
Yeah.
Yep. They're all independently owned and operated.
Oh, okay.
So you just got to pick. We did a drive and got them as many as we could signed up in a few days. And there they are.
Yeah, I think gas-powered ones are probably not legal.
They're not. No.
So that's why everybody has to have the electric.
Oh, all right. That's interesting.
It's pretty strict about transportation. Like private cars are not allowed. which keeps it like very natural, I guess. But yeah, there's pretty tight control over transportation, but it's very easy for tourists to get around.
Yeah, very easy.
Awesome. Yeah, so I know that the trike drivers, that some of them had the pouch wallet because the stack chainers found that one guy. So I don't know if you guys want to get into your stack chain experience, but what was your stack chain experience?
Well, yeah, I posted. We were out drinking one night and we're trying to get home, and me and my lady were like, "Geez, I hope one of these that we just signed up comes by." And by some miracle, he did. His name was Trike Dash. So we've got this video of us bouncing down the road and trying to pay, and some clever person did a still frame, figured out what his username was, and put up his tip link. We paid 30 pesos for that trip, so maybe 70 cents. And I think he got $30 worth of tips from the stack chainers that decoded his QR code. So
yeah, there's a whole Bitcoin, like a solid week where Bitcoiners were just enamored by the pouch wallet, how it worked, that all these merchants were signing up. So we were just like scouring all the Bitcoin Island and Pouch PA like pamphlets and stuff just to see if we could find QR codes and send somebody $5 or something. There was I forget what her business was, but there was one lady. You did a video and you sent it to us. Do you remember the story of that?
yeah.
No, well, you
Okay. So yeah, what happened was we just showed our stack of QR codes that were going out because we'd had a good sign up week, and one of them had to be on top, and the one that was on top, someone decoded, and we were like, oh man, she's got a lot of money, and I knew she probably hadn't checked her wallet yet, so we sent out our worker to tell her go to open up her app. And when she did, it was like the equivalent of $50-$60 on there, which is that's maybe a week or two of work here for her. And so she was super excited about that. Another one, we were always taking pictures of the people when they sign up, and she's really attractive young lady, and she actually was holding her QR card, which was unusual. And as soon as we posted that on Twitter, we knew what was going to happen. So, yeah, Hidden Shell made a good amount of money that day also. So
I remember with the trike driver, you were like, you guys need to stop sending him money or he's going to like quit his job. Like he's not going to work anymore.
yeah. So you can't plan these things, but when they happen, it's really nice. Yeah. And believe me, after the one woman made, 2 weeks from that, when we went back to that market to sign up other people, they all knew about it, and it was much easier to sign that market up for some reason. So
yeah, so it really does help with adoption, like getting these random donations. Yeah, there's like a fine line because I don't want us as a company to be soliciting donations. I mean, it's not a good look, and there's also risk. Like one thing, I don't even know how to account for it. Like I didn't figure that piece out. So we've just like been getting the donations to. We just put together a special account called Island pouch.ph/island. Well, like you can create an invoice and tip there, and then those just go specifically to like donations to individuals are paying the gig workers for like a reward incentive for orange pilling someone. That kind of thing. So all 100% goes to local, like the local economy, right? But and then just kind of like separating that from our own accounting, so we don't have to worry about. We have not officially stood up a nonprofit. That would be expensive to even do and like maintain the regulatory things associated with having a nonprofit. But yeah, like getting those donations definitely like got people super excited about accepting Bitcoin, right? And along the same lines, like so as I'm here, I like giving like exorbitant tips to people accepting Bitcoin, and I think that really gets people excited as well. Like they know kind of that like Bitcoiners love are like kind of insane about promoting Bitcoin and really love just being really generous. So I like kind of like leaning into that. I mean, I don't want to set an expectation, right? That Bitcoiners will be
No,
like,
no, you're 100% right. I mean, there's a reason why random Bitcoiners are doing that, and it's just because we could, and we knew it would be cool. We're just like, oh, this is a fun thing that I can do. This will make this person really happy, and I can use Bitcoin. So
100%.
I'm gonna do
Yep.
that.
And so people are often wondering, I'm not a coder. I don't, how can I help? The way you can help is show up at this island and spend sats. How great is it that to be part of the revolution, you come drink mojitos on a white sand beach and you are fighting in the war, right?
Best revolution ever.
Yeah. It's really helpful. Ethan showing up here and they don't know who he is. And he's going to these places and spending sats. We have we've built the infrastructure. You can come here and live off Bitcoin, but we need more people doing it, right? We're shifting our focus now from businesses because we've got plenty. We're taking more if they come to us, but we're not as actively recruiting. Now we're recruiting spenders. And having him show up and just go there and basically not be me, they know who I am. It's not a big deal when this white guy shows up and buys carrots with Bitcoin anymore, right? But when he goes and buys potatoes, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, new face, like it's yeah. So yeah, I'm just kind of like subtly going, like just pretending I'm an average Bitcoiner. I'm not the guy behind the app. But yeah, it's great fun, and it's really been just for the past 24 hours really encouraging to see that it's all real, right? People understand what Bitcoin is, like, and just like ask, do you accept Bitcoin here? Because they have the sticker up on the wall. So, and they're like, yeah, here you go. Like they either have their static QR card or some of them know how to do it in their phone to like generate a real-time invoice. So you can just scan it.
Okay.
Yeah, Bill's done a great job of training folks. So everybody knows how to accept Bitcoin. And yeah, majority of them are receiving pesos or yeah, at this time, I think all of them are receiving pesos. And they kind of have to be because we, for regulatory reasons, we can't custody Bitcoin for users right now until we're licensed with a very specific like virtual asset license. So everyone has to receive pesos, but they have the option to, and some of them are sending to their own self-custody Bitcoin wallet, which we encourage that too. So we're not a custodian of Bitcoin. We have a banking partner who custodies the Philippine pesos, and we just kind of operate this conversion, like payment processing service, where we're processing Bitcoin Lightning payments and converting that to pesos and depositing it into their effectively a bank account, like an online bank account through our banking partner, which is just like, it's a white labeled bank account. So it looks like a pouch peso account. So it just feels very seamless. And so this is stage one, by the way, like we're Bitcoin maximalists. Well, I'll speak for myself, but I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, right? And I want everybody to use Bitcoin. At the end of the day, government fiat can slowly fade and hyperinflate to worthlessness. And we want everybody using Bitcoin. But stage one is like using the utility of Bitcoin. And people will eventually have to switch to Bitcoin, whether they want to or not, as government currency inevitably fails, as it always does throughout history. So we're building the option for now, and the early adopters can come use Bitcoin, can send it out to their own self-custody wallet. And we're working on our license so we can custody Bitcoin for users, but that'll probably take a year or more even to be able to add that specific feature. But yeah, in the meantime, self-custody is the way to go anyways.
Okay,
So-
so let me walk through this here. So I know for sure I can go to the island, and if I have like my Moon wallet and it has some Bitcoin in there, I can go to any merchant, and basically the you guys have given them like static lightning QR codes, right? So if I'm ordering a meal and that meal is, I don't know, $10 or whatever the peso amount is.
Big spender. $10. That's an excellent big meal here.
Okay, I'm
Another-
gonna get a nice big meal. So in my Moon wallet, how does my Moon wallet know that I'm paying the correct amount of pesos?
Well, here we're doing video right now. I'm going to ask you not for $10. I'm going to ask you for 1 peso. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and bust open my Moon wallet here.
Okay. So this is what a cashier would do for you. Is that big enough? Can you see that?
A little bit to your left. A little bit to your left. And I don't think our video resolution is good enough.
Oh, here we go. Get closer. Stream close up.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, and now when you hit pay, this is
Yeah,
going
I
to
just
turn
sent it.
green.
How many stats?
There we go.
There it is. That's
That's it.
amazing.
That's
There it is. Oh, I got it.
Okay, and now when you hit pay, this is
Yeah,
going
I
to turn
just sent
green.
it.
How many stats?
There we go.
There it is. That's
That's it.
amazing. Oh, that's probably one of the coolest things I've ever done. Um,
There you
So yeah, there's like
and it showed right on your phone what the amount was. So
Exactly.
that's amazing. Yeah.
So power
So
comes
I just paid.
exchange rate for 1 minute. So you have to pay within that 1 minute, or you can like regenerate the QR code. But that's how we guarantee you get exactly the amount of pesos that you wanted for the merchant. That helps them with accounting too.
That was
Uh-oh.
I can't get a smile off my face. That was so amazing. I had no idea that we were going to be doing a lightning exchange in the middle of this interview. That was cool, man. So now you've received the pesos. So what if you want to keep the pesos? You're good because you got that custodian that you were just talking about. So you can just hang on to that, and then you can use it to buy groceries or a ride or whatever. What if you wanted Bitcoin? Can you convert that to Bitcoin?
Yeah, so just like we received over the Lightning Network, now that we have, or now that the merchant, me in this case, has that, I can send it back out on the Lightning Network or on chain to any self-custody wallet that we want. So I, being the marketing guy, say, we believe so much in self-custody, we won't even custody it for you. We want you to send it to your own self-custody method until we get a license.
I mean, that's amazing though, because you have complete and total integration back and forth between Bitcoin and pesos in both directions. And then,
Now- not only that, but this is also connected to the Filipino banking rails. So any bank in the Philippines, you can take that peso balance and send it to any bank. Remember, we are keeping that in the white label bank account. So when someone signs up for Pouch, they officially become banked instead of the unbanked. And then they have access to the entire Filipino banking system.
That's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. And in order to get Pouch, you just have to download the app.
Yep, you have to download the app and you have to sign up in KYC. So you need a valid ID. As a foreigner, you can use a passport. We just have to do a little bit of enhanced due diligence for foreigners. But for locals, so foreigners can indeed have a Philippine peso bank account as well with the enhanced due diligence. And then locals, you just need a valid photo ID, a single valid photo ID.
Okay, which is the same thing you would need for a bank account. So
Exactly.
one of the things you guys glossed over is like your recruitment. You have a whole system where you pay people to go talk to merchants about pouch.
Correct.
So because I remember we did a donation campaign to like supply funds so we could pay for that. How does that work on the island?
So what we did was, since the stack chainers were the first one to utilize Island, we had promised you that we would just double their income for, I think it was a week or two, and our people were absolutely delighted. One of them said that she made more in a week with us than she made in the last month at her prior engagement. So it made a real difference. And I don't think it's coincidence that that was when we went from 100 to 200 in like 2 weeks. There was a lot of motivation there. So we have a script that I developed. I used to be in technical sales, and so I developed that. And then my second in command here, Yan Yan, Filipino Hodl, if you've seen her on Twitter, she basically did the training because it just goes a lot better in Tagalog for our gig workers, and showed them what we thought was a good technical demo and sales pitch. A lot of people kind of disregard that sales is an art and there is a science to it. And I did too when I was a young engineer going out with the sales weasels. But I did learn from being with them that there is something to it. And so we developed that pitch and got it down to about 2 minutes. And it was short, to the point, and got people to say yes. And so that's what we did. And, by the time it's been translated through 2 people in 1 language, not quite sure if it's exactly what I said, but it was effective.
Yeah.
It got the job done. I mean,
Yeah.
Providing education to like so I mean our gig workers, right, are probably not college degree holders, right? So
No, this was a very, very entry level position. We would start like on a Sunday, post on Facebook, because here the internet is Facebook, okay? And we would post that we're hiring entry level. We get 15, 20 people in the door. We train them all. And then we would tell them, go away for lunch and then come back, because they're too shy to say, this isn't for me. So by telling them to go to lunch, half of them never show up again. And then after that, if we did this on Monday, by Friday, we'd have 2 people left. And by the next week, we'd have 1. So to find the 3 people that were our solid workers that brought us from, what was it, wherever we were, to the 250 that we are today, it was a lot of training and hiring people, and that, or not hiring, but training people, and then it would winnow down. But each of those people that we trained now understand it. They just don't want to be in sales and are signed up. So if adoption is a ladder, the first rung is have a positive outview on Bitcoin. We are doing that on the island. Just walking around, you see the Bitcoin accepted here. You see our ridiculously big Bitcoin sign in the center of town, and you see it on all the trikes. So this is the first step. Just have a positive feeling about Bitcoin. Next step, sign up. And so, a bunch of those people signed up. They might not use it for a month, a week, a year, who knows, but they are signed up. And, some of our vendors, now they have a Bitcoin wallet that they are using whenever someone pays. That's the next step. So it is a linear line. And now some of our bigger vendors, the ones that are not living, sale to sale, are asking, well, how can I just keep the Bitcoin? Okay, now some of them are on that next level. So it takes time. It takes a lot of time. But when people are asking, how do I keep the Bitcoin? There we go.
That's fantastic. How many merchants are on the island in total? Like, what kind of penetration do you have?
It is really hard to tell. I believe there's like 10,000 residents, and let's say 1 in 3 has a business. I don't know.
Okay.
That's just a swag, a scientific wild ass guess. So maybe 3,000 businesses on the island, and we had 300 at one point. Now, as we go, we do validate our businesses, and some of them forget that they signed up or whatever. So our 250 are all people that have been validated after sitting for a month, right?
Yeah.
So
Actually, I want to add a point here because I think this is a issue that Bitcoin Beach had in any Bitcoin community is like the churn of merchants. So they sign up at one point, but then not enough people come, and like nobody comes and spends Bitcoin, right? So they just like uninstall the app from their phone, take down the sign, whatever, and stop accepting Bitcoin. We haven't had that too much here, right? But we paused for a little while at 300 to focus on the spenders, and then when Bill's team went and did the sweep again, validating, we found that maybe about 50 of them forgot either change of ownership of the business or maybe it was a relative working at the time. They didn't teach their other relatives working the business how to accept Bitcoin, or for whatever reason, like they stopped accepting Bitcoin, so we took them off. So now we're 100% confident, or say 99% confidence, right?
Yeah.
That the 250 businesses on the map now definitely accept Bitcoin. And so those 50 who signed up prior and never had any customers come churn. I think that rate is actually still really good because I think Bitcoin Beach and other communities had a much higher rate of churn. So we want to make sure that we also get more spenders so that we don't have that kind of churn that the other communities had.
yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Boracay sounds like an amazing place to come and visit. So it seems like a good place to take your Bitcoin,
Yeah, a good place to retire or do, like Bill says, digital nomading. Because if you can earn like Western salary, like American salary, whatever, and live in a much lower cost of living area. And to be clear, Boracay is much lower cost of living than like all of the US probably, but it's pretty high cost of living for the Philippines. And so it's kind of in the middle because it is like a resort tourist centric island. Things are more expensive than most of the Philippines, but it's still way cheaper. And then to add on to the question about penetration, we have, so Bill said, wild ass guess, 3,000 businesses and 250 to 300 accepting Bitcoin. So that's like 10% of the businesses on the island. So
I mean, it's pretty amazing because it hasn't even been a year, right?
yep.
It's been 7 months.
Yeah, because I think Stack Chain, we kind of found you guys when you were just getting started. So you must have been at it for like 2 or 3 months before Stack Chainers found you. And it's just been one of the coolest experiences that we've had in Stack Chain because I feel like we kind of found Bitcoin Island, and so we've been, we did the campaign kind of like right at the beginning, and now for a few months, you just randomly see Bitcoin, you see the Bitcoin Island PH account grow. You keep seeing pictures of like, this merchant now accepts Bitcoin, and then all the different stats. For those of you watching the video, John will put up the map. But there's this amazing map where it'll just show all the Bitcoin merchants, and then like you can click on it. It tells you like, what they do, or, if they sell food or whatever it is. And it even has their little pouch like ID on there, which is how the Stack Chainers were decoding the QR codes and just sending random strangers money, which demonstrates the usefulness for remittances. So is there a lot of remittances going on? Is that part of the use case for Pouch PH and what you guys are doing?
Yeah, that's actually basically our business model because the Philippines is one of the top remittance receiving countries in the world. It's third or fourth, depending on the year, after India, China, and Mexico. So $32 billion flows into the Philippines every year, and Western Union captures 7% as their own cut, either through like fees that they tell you about when you're sending a remittance, or through the hidden cost of an exchange rate spread. So in total, it's probably around 1%. So the entire remittance volume is 10% of the Philippine GDP, massive. And then fees alone are around 1% of the Philippine entire GDP of the country. So we're trying to take the fees down as much as we feasibly can and have a sustainable business. Like, I guess Western Union and Remitly or any other service that charges these fees does it because they can, because they have the network advantage of their own closed network. Lightning, being an open network, kind of destroys that moat of any closed payment system. So the fees are going to certainly come down, which is excellent. So that's our number one use case that we're actually trying to solve. The tourism, well, the tourism is like a fun Bitcoin citadel that we're building here, and there's some utility, certainly. I mean, anybody wants to live off Bitcoin, but there's definitely utility for that. But for most people living in most parts of the world, whether you're living in the rest of the Philippines somewhere outside of Boracay, or you have a relative as an overseas Filipino worker, which is the primary driver of these remittances, are Filipinos who go work as nurses overseas all around the world, or work in like seafaring or whatever field that, like, Philippines is a massive exporter of labor, right? So they send money back home, and we're working, basically, the users that we've attracted to do remittances so far are people who are very technical, pretty much, who are interested in Bitcoin, because the way to do it is kind of technical. Like, you have to have Bitcoin from your own country. Like, and now Strike or Cash App in the US have made that easier. So we can kind of train people to, like, download Strike, link your US bank account, and then copy and paste an invoice from the Pouch app to the Strike app. It's still too many steps compared to Western Union. So for a lot of people, it's like, this is, like, I'm not a technical person. This is hard for me to grasp. So I just want to keep paying my 7%. I don't really care that much, which is kind of a bummer, but this is the piece that we're trying to solve right now. And actually, the way that we're solving it is we've built our partner API, which is very specific. Other e-wallets, Lightning wallets, can integrate a more seamless remittance experience that settles over Lightning. So, for example, a couple days ago, Strike launched with Nigeria, right? Like, from the Strike app, you can send to a Nigerian bank account directly dollars, and they receive whatever currency they want to receive in their respective country. And we are basically looking to add this to the Lightning wallets in in Europe, in the United States. We've built the API, and can't really go into detail about the integration itself because of NDA things, but that's the thing that most
don't say anything you're not supposed to say.
Making it very seamless. That's what we really need, because again, like, I'm doing user interviews of Filipinos in California, and it's just too complicated doing the Lightning QR code dance to get money overseas. So being able to just type in the phone number and the recipient name, and bank account, choose the bank account number, boom. That makes it even easier, in fact, than Western Union. So at that point, so once we launch that and hopefully we'll have like something launched by Q1, like in the next couple months. Then it becomes cheaper and easier than the alternative remittance solutions, and I think Lightning just wins at that point, becomes a no-brainer, and Lightning volume will pick up immensely at that point too.
Well, is like Lightning. Oh, geez, LNURL, like the little. Is that an option for you?
So we actually support LNURL and Lightning addresses. Every one of our users has a username and,
Yeah.
and a Lightning address. So username at pouch.ph. I'm Ethan at pouch.ph. So yeah, we can receive remittances to Lightning addresses. And I think actually that's a really, really great user experience because people are like familiar with email, right? And it's the same
Yeah,
concept
exactly. It's
for email address. But Strike and Cash App don't support Lightning addresses. So the wallets that would be have the best experience on the sender side don't support Lightning addresses. So we're I'm not sure really the reason for that, but like maybe it's regulatory, but I don't see how.
I mean, maybe Jack just didn't think about it, and after he watches this video, it'll be integrated.
Yeah, I mentioned it to Jack, and well, okay, so Jack's response was like his number one focus is the user experience, and I 100% agree on that user experience is the most important thing. So I guess where we disagree is I think the Lightning address experience is a really good user experience, but Jack made some good points about I guess the number one bad experience is the currency, like the exchange rate. You don't get to verify the exchange rate when you're sending to a Lightning address. Like we're auto converting on our side. We could do any kind of like terrible tactics we want to give you the worst exchange rate possible, and you have no safety as remittance sender. So being able to build an experience like where we have our partner APIs kind of like integrated, like you can see the exchange rate that you're going to get locked in for a minute and agree to that exchange rate. That's actually a very important part of the experience.
Yeah,
and then also being able to send directly to any bank in the Philippines rather than requiring your recipient to sign up for Pouch. That's also a big advantage too. I mean, it would be nice if everybody downloaded was forced to download a Lightning wallet, right, and have access to Lightning right off the bat. But for those who want to like reduce that one piece of friction, and a sender just wants to send like to the whatever Union Bank account of their recipient, like you can still do that over Lightning with our API that we're working on.
Okay.
So also an improved experience.
Have you guys come across any like regulatory friction? Because I mean, you guys are doing all these things that you probably can't do in other countries. So it feels like you're in a regulatory friendly environment. Is that a reasonable thing?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, the Philippines is kind of friendly. Like they had a regulation for VASP license, virtual asset service providers. They call it the VASP license. Then right after we got started, they put that on a moratorium for 3 years, which means that they licensed maybe a dozen companies and they're not reviewing any applications anymore for 3 years. So we missed the ball on that. So we've gotten multiple legal opinions to be sure that we're covered, like we know what we're doing. And basically, there's another license called the Operator of Payment Systems, and we're making the legal case that we are operating the Lightning Network as just a payment system. So we're not custodying users' Bitcoin, we're not custodying cryptocurrency. We tried the feature in an experimental way, and then we just turned it off. Like we can't do that without the license anyway. So users just have to send to self-custody if they want Bitcoin to hold. And we're not custodying Philippine pesos because we have a banking partner doing that. So our activity is literally we're payment processing basically, and that's it. Sending and receiving via a payment system, and that's a much more lightweight license. And actually, the Philippines Central Bank is the regulator, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. They say that any company can start operating a payment system. They just have to apply for that license within 30 days of commencing operations. And so you can legally do business during the entire licensing process until you have the license. So that's pretty friendly, I would say.
Yeah,
Banks are willing to work with us even without holding the license, because we are, again, like we have well-known lawyers, and I think that like gives banks confidence. I found like dealing with compliance teams, especially, it's a very human kind of interaction. Like it's not just like going down a checklist necessarily and saying like you get banking access or you don't get banking access. It's like very much like they make a decision, like how much do we trust you? Have you like put your effort into like built a compliance policy, anti-money laundering policies and all, and like, yeah, do we trust that you know what you're doing, basically? And so like I did not come from a legal background, so I'm like leaning on these trustworthy lawyers, right? Our legal team to like help us understand these AML requirements and all.
well, I mean, it seems favorable because you hear in other countries where banks just like don't do business with you once they find out you're a Bitcoin company,
Yep.
as opposed to you're going around and you're saying we are doing this with Bitcoin, and they're just like, oh, okay, well, do you have the right thing? They don't just shut you down. They just want to make sure that you're following the rules. One of the interesting things about Bitcoin Island that I think is also part of the success of Bitcoin adoption on the island is you guys actually have an office. So why don't you tell us about the office and what that office, why you have the office and what it means to you? And
I'll let Bill.
Sure. So yeah, we have an office. The way that the island is set up, if you go look on the map, there's a thin part in the middle. That's the tourist area. And in that middle thin area is a rectangular, we call it a lake. It's a pond or whatever it is. But all the tourists are on the left side and we are on the right side, which means you have a clear view of our office from basically the entire tourist area. You look across the pond and there is a ridiculously large Bitcoin billboard. And so you cannot miss it. And that
Bill says billboard. Bill says billboard, Bitcoin billboard, right? But it's actually oh my gosh, that's so hard to say. But it's actually a Bitcoin shaped, like it looks like a Bitcoin circle, giant circle on top of the building.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's a better way of saying it. And so just having that presence, basically everyone on the island knows that we exist. Again, first step, have a positive view of Bitcoin. Then every tourist will see this, and there's a lot of self-selection where they just show up in our office. And that's a good thing. So we meet the plebs that weren't here because it's Bitcoin Island. They were here because it's a great place to vacation, and then they see it. And so then they come introduce themselves. So having that presence is really good. If we look at the history of banking in, like, let's say the Wild West in America, banks always built fancy buildings, right? Marble and everything else. And that signaled that we're here for the long term. We're not just going to take your deposits and disappear. There is some kind of respectability that comes from having an office on the island that is hard to measure. When we start going to the businesses and say, oh, maybe you saw us, our big office across from the McDonald's. Oh, yeah, the purple place. Yeah, they recognize it, and it gives us some respectability. When we get the bloggers and the journalists coming in, having somewhere with a nice backdrop of a giant Bitcoin that we painted on the interior wall, that's something nice there. So when we were doing all of our hiring, you know, having somewhere where we could put 15 people and do a training is really good to have. So we found a lot of utility and social proof in having that.
And then people have the confidence that if they have a problem with Bitcoin, there's like a physical place to go. Does that?
Yes, on the back of every QR card, I may regret this someday, but is my personal phone number right here. So my personal phone number, our web address, and our location on the island. So if they have problems, they know where to come, where to call. If you try and call any wallet in the Philippines or probably in America and ask for help,
Yeah.
good luck, right? This one, I've gotten calls, and then, okay, 9 o'clock at night, I'm getting on my little scooter and I'm going to see what I can do for them. So yeah, knowing that they have personal service, it doesn't scale, but it scales to the island. So
It's perfect. I mean, it's an interesting like part of adoption that I don't know that everybody's thought of, because, you know, in the beginning of Bitcoin adoption, you want to build confidence, and, you know, because there's no tech support for Bitcoin, there's no CEO to call, there's nobody to take to court if you fuck up and lose your keys or whatever. It's there's nothing. So when you're trying to convince people on the island to use this technology for which there is no customer support, it's kind of nice to offer some customer support and be like, here's a physical place where you can go. And so I'm not like the expert on this, but I've talked to enough people and I've talked to enough projects around, you know, in various places of the world that Bitcoin Island has something about it that is, if you're thinking about starting a Bitcoin community, like if you're taking a look at your part of the world and you're like, hey, I want to do a Bitcoin beach, you should probably take a look at Bitcoin Island, because Bitcoin Island has onboarded hundreds of merchants and created an environment where a Bitcoiner can go today. I can land today and use Bitcoin, and I can feed myself. I can buy the things that I need and want for, you know, and I can do that right now.
our reason for the success. It is the unfair advantage that Ethan gave us by building Pouch. As he mentioned, I tried a community like this before I knew about Pouch, and there were so many roadblocks that it never really got anywhere. And then I met Pouch, saw what they were doing or what we were doing, 7 months ago when we got started. And that's why I had the confidence, oh yeah, this will work. Because every problem I identified before was solved by Pouch. So the biggest thing that a community can do that is going to help get this kind of success is have those fiat rails. Now, I know there's a Bitcoin maximalist in his mother's basement saying, you are not pure, you are not pure. Well, yeah, but we're getting the work done. None of these people are going to be hand rolling entropy and keeping their sats on a ledger that's been air gapped since they bought it from the factory and pulled it off the line themselves. That's not going to happen. But I was in a little hair salon and helped a 60-year-old woman buy her first sats. Okay? And I was sitting on the floor, there were no chairs, and she bought her first sats. So yeah, we are in the dirt. We are getting it done, and it's not a purist dream all the time, but it is adoption, and it is on that path to where we all want to go.
Well, that's amazing. We have been in here for about an hour, guys. So, is there any last thoughts you want to leave us with?
We are currently planning a Bitcoin retreat. It's kind of like a conference without all the talking. We found that the best parts of a conference actually happen out in the hallways.
You're not
where
wrong.
other. So why don't we just skip that other bit and just have the conversations? So it would be most comparable to an unconference like Foo Camp or Bar Camp, where we're really about the interactions with each other in a structured way, but not terribly structured. We will have some keynote speakers that kind of anchor this event, but it's really about getting about 150 Bitcoiners onto Bitcoin Island where they can live the Bitcoin standard, if only for a few days, and interact with each other. And that's where things really happen. We don't have any dates yet. We don't have any prices yet, but we are on the way, and we can count on Stack Chainers to spread the word once we're ready to announce that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let us know.
If you want to
Ethan?
come, I recommend a one-way ticket just in case you never want to go back home.
It seems like the kind of place that you show up to and you don't want to go home, to be honest. I mean, if you're a Bitcoiner and you're looking for a nice place to vacation, I would seriously give it considerations. If you haven't seen the island, we'll drop all the links, the Twitter account. You should at the very least take a look at it. It's a beautiful, beautiful island.
We're slowly accumulating digital nomads. One guy showed up, and I don't think he's left yet after a month. So they just kind of forget to leave. There's a Bureau of Immigration right on the island, and you can just keep renewing that visa.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I love I can't get enough of hearing about these Bitcoin adoption stories and all these little communities popping up all around the world. And Bitcoin Island is one of the most fun. So thank you for giving me an hour of your time. And gentlemen, have fun stacking sats.
All right. Thanks for
See
having
y'all.
us on.